Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. Today I'm sitting down with you guys to do a Q&A specifically dedicated to homeschooling middle and high school aged students. And I want to thank Band for sponsoring today's video. You guys are going to hear more about Band here in a second, but I just have to tell you, super cool to be working with them. They're actually an app that I already was using every single day right here on my iPhone, which you guys can see right there. I can't show you the specifics of my app because it will reveal groups that I am a part of in my real life. However, Band is a free app that is so awesome for sports teams, dance teams, and also homeschooling. And I know many of you guys are leaders within the homeschooling community where you live, and Band can totally help you organize and streamline and communicate with all the people that you're looking to work with, collaborate with, communicate with for homeschooling. So I'm really excited to be working with them because they are an app that I use every day in my personal life. So we got the questions over from Instagram. I have a number of questions here, which are all dedicated to homeschooling middle school and high school. So that is all we are going to be talking about in this Q&A. And if you are new to my channel and you do not know this, let me briefly give you the lowdown. My oldest is in 11th grade and my youngest is in the 6th grade. So this school year, for the first time ever in my homeschooling journey, I do not have any elementary aged students or kids. So I am fully into the middle and high school homeschooling experience, and I believe that I can answer a lot of these questions, which will hopefully help you guys have a little bit more clarity, a little bit more insight, and mostly just hear my opinion on the various topics relating to homeschooling those preteens and teenagers. So we're going to jump in and get going. I hope to be able to answer all of the questions, but if I can't, then I may upload a part 2 of this video, picking up right where I already told you guys, Band is sponsoring today's Q&A, and they are a free app that you can download to have one-stop shop communication for your teams, your groups, and most importantly, your homeschooling communities. Homeschool communities thrive on communication. Now, I've already told you guys that I use the Band app in my day-to-day life. My daughter's dance team communicates on Band, as well as the church homeschool group that I am a part of. So I was already utilizing Band when they reached out to partner up with me, and I wanted to share the app with you guys because there's a lot of really cool features that it has that I think would benefit a lot of your homeschooling communities, especially if you're someone who runs a co-op, runs classes, is in charge of anything. This app will make your life so much easier. So first and foremost, it is free. Completely free to download and utilize. The second thing that is really awesome about Band is that it is not social media. When you are the administrator of the app or you create a group, you send out a private link via text or email to the participants. So there's no potential for anyone joining the group that should not be there. And it gives you a lot of comfort and security, especially if your kids are a part of the group and you know that, no one is in there that shouldn't be. So it is not social media. It is a free app and it is private and totally secure, which is awesome. However, the app does have all of the features that you probably know and love. Things like taking polls of your group, things like photo sharing between your group for events. Last year when I threw the formal for our high schoolers in our homeschool group, all we had to do was upload all of the photos from the event, and then all the moms could go in there and save them to their phones or whatever they wanted to do, and that was really nice. You also have notifications that you can manage, whether you want to be notified or not. You can turn them on or off. There's invitations for events And you get those reminders that we all need for our busy, busy lives, as well as read receipts and a whole bunch of other amazing things. There's so many things you can do on band to communicate with the people that you want to communicate with, from creating a large group to creating private subgroups of the large group. If you're, doing a homeschool co-op and you've got elementary, middle, and high school, you can break it up that way. It is so, so nice to be able to communicate on band. So if any of you guys run a co-op, run classes, or you just want to organize your homeschooling life, if you've got different classes, different, sources that you're pulling in for your homeschooling experience, you can create a group on band for your children, for your household, and it's really, really beneficial. You can download Band for free using my link down below and take advantage of that, but there were a lot of questions about co-ops, micro schools, different options for middle and high school, as well as ways to keep your kids organized and on track, and Band can do it all. I have to check in with Band every single day because I'm keeping up with my daughter's dance team, as well as our homeschool group, and our church operates that, and it just makes it so, so easy to communicate with everyone and everything be all in one place. So check out Band. You can download it for free down below. It is a free resource that is so, so awesome, and homeschooling communities can totally benefit from using it. All right, so starting off the Q&A with the first question, it says, what are the best tools you used to teach ownership of their education and time management and scheduling skills? Also, resources and ideas to encourage critical thinking and deep thinking rather than just answering a quick question. I'm in the middle school years and all of this is really hard right now. Okay, well, that is about 5 questions in one. So let me break down the questions. So what are the best tools I used to teach ownership of their own education and time management and scheduling skills? So I think that this isn't something that you just start teaching when your child gets to middle school. I really focused on laying this foundation when my kids were in elementary school by slowly teaching them how to be more independent with their work. So that would look like I would give them an assignment and I would expect them to get it done and focus and complete things in a timely fashion. That is what I started doing in elementary school, so that when my kids got to middle school, it wasn't like this foreign concept. Throughout the years of homeschooling, I've also always had flows or rhythms for my kids that work so much better for them, because my kids are motivated by knowing that once they're done, they're done. So they're not waiting on me, they're not waiting on a sibling, they're not waiting around. They know the order in which they are to complete their work for the day, and they work diligently most of the time to do that. So those rhythms, lists that I've printed out for years and years for them have really helped. My kids have never used any type of planner or scheduling device until my daughter started doing Grand Canyon University, and I got her a paper planner just like I use so that she could break up her week and write it down, just because at the beginning of the week it shows everything that's due in those classes, and I knew that would be overwhelming for her because it doesn't break it down day by day. So I showed her how to do that and just kind of structure out her week, and so she's been using a paper planner, but only for that one class. So I've really never had the need to have my kids use lesson plans or anything like that, because we always have just done the next lesson on the next day. So as far as time management and scheduling skills, what has worked the best for us has been a flow that is consistent day to day, basically the same exact thing, clear starting times, clear expectations, and again, laying that foundation so that when they got to middle and high school, it wasn't this brand new idea that they were going to be learning. Resources for encouraging critical thinking. We've done a lot of various resources for this, but I would say logic is something that you can pull in. We've used courses from master books. We've also done a lot of Christian apologetics that encourage critical thinking and just not necessarily following the masses with information, but challenging those things. World Watch News does a great job of, invoking critical thinking. And then the number one thing that I think creates a critical thinker is you being a critical thinker and sharing that in conversation with your kids. So those are my answers to your questions. The next question is, what BJU subjects do we use for middle school? So far, and probably what will continue, I have used in middle school science, earth science specifically in the 8th grade to prepare for high school level science. And my kids have generally started a high school foreign language in middle school just to kind of get ahead a bit because they were ready for it. Those are the only BJU subjects that I have done for middle school. The next one, am I creating transcripts? And if yes, how am I doing so? Yes, I have created a transcript now in order for my oldest daughter to apply to Grand Canyon University's dual enrollment program. However, there's really no need to keep a transcript until you're submitting it somewhere. So I just created her transcript in preparation for her application for that. And I used my own high school printable sheets that I've been keeping records on for all of her high school journey. It made it so easy and so simple for me to take that information and transfer it over. Transcripts are something that really freak a lot of people out when it comes to high school. And of course, your record keeping system will need to be appropriate for the state or country in which you live. So don't just take my word for it. Make sure you know your state's laws. But it really isn't that big of a deal. I actually went into a lot more detail on this in my video that just went up. I think I called it Everything You Need to Know About Homeschooling High School and Middle School. So go check out that video if you want to hear more in depth on how I did the transcripts and all of that, and my thoughts on transcripts. I talk about it in that video, and I don't want to repeat myself here, but if you want something that will help you be organized very seamlessly, very easy to use, you can purchase my record keeping sheets that I created and use for myself, as well as a lot of you guys have bought them. Those will be linked down below, and it's made creating a transcript very, very easy. If my kids ever wanted to try public school, would I let them know? God has given me authority as their parent to decide what is best. And there is just no way that, with especially the way public schools are today, and it does not matter where you live, of course, certain areas will be worse than others, but the root is all the same. It is anti-God. And there is no reason why a child should be in charge of such a large choice in their life. So no, the answer is no, and they've never asked. The next question, what helped you decide to use Math 7? I am in the same boat. So she is talking about The Good and the Beautiful's recently released Math 7 over pre-algebra with Shorman Mathematics, which has been the pathway all of my other kids have taken, but that's because Math 7 wasn't available. So for me, what I think, where my train of thought is that I'm gonna have her do Math 7. This is my opinion, this is not the opinion of The Good and the Beautiful, but I have seen pre-algebra enough to recognize how much pre-algebra is actually in Math 6 as well as Math 7. So I'm not going to have her take an entire pre-algebra course. because these courses have enough in it. So after Math 7, I'm going to have her go on to Algebra 1. So she will start Algebra 1 in the 8th grade because next year she'll be in 7th and she'll do Math 7. My reason behind that is she is the only kid who's going to be able to use Math 7 since it just came out. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2, she's also my only child who has never become frustrated to the point of tears with math. And so if it's not broke, why fix it? And it's just working really well. She learns very well with the Good and the Beautiful's format and the way that they do it. And so I'm just going to stick with that because next year is also my daughter's senior year of high school. And I just feel like I'm going to be I don't know what the right word is, maybe a little overwhelmed emotionally. And so I just don't want to be changing things that really don't need changing. So that is where I'm at with that. The next one, do we know what high school maths are coming and when? Algebra, geometry, algebra 2, a combo. I think you're asking from the Good and the Beautiful. As far as I know, they released a blog post. I'll see if I can find it where they kind of lay out what they're hoping for. I think that some of those super, like algebra 2, which would be a very high level high school math, those I do think that they would like to do, but I don't know that they're actively working on them right now. What I do know is that they are going to be releasing a full pre-algebra course, and then they will be moving on to Math 8. So that's kind of the sequence, and I think that each of those things is coming, but Math 7 took about 1.5 to 2 years to get out. So it's not a fast process at all, and I'm thankful that it's not because it's so thorough, but that's just what I know now, but I'll see if I can link the blog post for you to kind of read a little bit more about that. Have I ever had my kids dawdle with their schoolwork, and what did I do? Yeah, my kids go through phases where they're less focused than others, and it's usually because of 2 reasons. Number 1, they're not super interested in whatever they're learning at the moment. And then number 2, other things in their life are distracting them. So, it's just a lot of refocus, pay attention, be time efficient, reminders, and constantly supervising, because I am just not of the opinion that I should walk away for 3 hours and then come back and be mad that nobody did what they were supposed to do. So I am there. Even if I hop up to fold a basket of laundry or something like that, I am right here. And so I feel like that does limit their time that they're off in La La Land, but they sometimes do struggle with that, and I think we all do. Focus can be hard to come by, but one thing that my kids are very motivated by, which I already said, is the fact that when they're done with their work for the day, they're just totally done. And so they're motivated because they want to have some free time before we move on to the rest of the events of the day. So yeah, that's kind of it. Now, if there's a very big problem, like we're just not getting things done, I would have to address that differently, but we've never had somebody actually not complete what they're supposed to do, and I think that's because I am sitting up here, and so it really limits that temptation to cut corners. They know that I'm watching them, and they know that if they did that, they're going to get in trouble, and they're still going to have to do it anyway. So I think that that kind of takes care of it. What are my favorite math, science, and history curriculums for high school? So for math, it's definitely going to be Shorman Mathematics. Hands down, 100%. It's incredible. For science, we have absolutely loved BJU Press Homeschool Science courses for high school. And for history, it took me a while to find something that we really like. My kids really do like Not Grass history. I think it's a very good balance between just dry textbook and some literature, and it's the right amount of time. It only takes 30-ish minutes a day, so they're not spending hours upon hours doing history. So those are the ones that we have enjoyed the most. The next question, how do we create a diploma, and do we need to name our homeschool? So I'm going to refer you to Do You Need to Name Your Homeschool to hslda.org. That is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They have all of the laws and legalities for every state in the United States on the website, and they also provide legal counsel to homeschoolers who need it. So they're an incredible resource, and if you can financially support them, they did a ton of work to even bring about legalization of homeschooling in some resistant states, and so they're a great organization to support. So you might need to name your homeschool per your state. Check it out. I don't know. My state doesn't require that. And how do we create a diploma? Well, there's a lot of different online companies that you can pay to have, a more thick or a professionally printed diploma. That's probably the route that I will go for my daughter and my subsequent kids. Or you can create your own utilizing a free computer program. It really is up to you how you do that. But a quick Google search of like homeschool high school diploma will generate lots and lots of results for you. What is my schedule for the year? Let's see. Where did that one go? What is my schedule for the year? How many lessons a week? So we generally do 5 days a week for middle school and high school. If the curriculum is a 120 lesson curriculum, we don't do it on the 5th day. If it's 180 lessons, then we do it on the 5th day. But we're doing school 5 days a week. The 5th day is lighter, but that just has been the best way for middle and high school. The next question, do I have a system for grading schoolwork? So every curriculum for middle and high school generally comes with a grading rubric included. So you can't grade the good and the beautiful using BJU's grading scale or whatever. So every curriculum has their own grading rubric, which is nice because then you just have to read the instructions and do what it says. Some curriculums that are online will have an auto grading feature, and that is where it's at, especially if you are homeschooling multiple middle and high schoolers. For example, Shorman Mathematics has auto grading, so I don't have to do any grading, it automatically grades. BJU Press Homeschool has grading that I have to enter, but the system is set up to average it itself. And so I still have control as the parent to allow my kids to retake a test or something like that, but they have the auto grading built in. The Good and the Beautiful's high school language arts has a grading rubric in the front of the book, and so that's very easy to follow and fill in. So every curriculum has a grading scale or a rubric to follow, and so you just need to read those instructions. It's usually in the front of the book or online. And that is how we do it. A couple more transcript questions. I already answered that in this video, but if you want to hear more, go watch the other video that just went up. The next one, advice for parents on how to teach higher levels of math for high schoolers. I'm a real big fan of outsourcing high school math unless you enjoy teaching high-level math or you have some type of background that would make that something that would fall in your skill set. I never, ever, ever had the desire to teach high-level math, and I don't think my kids would learn it well from me, and thank God we have so many different resources to choose from for our high schoolers to learn math. So I am a fan of outsourcing high school math. And by outsourcing, I mean choosing a program that your child can either work through fairly independently or choosing some type of computer-based lesson instruction that provides them the information, the lecture, taking notes, all of that good stuff. So that is what I would do. How do I handle diplomas and work permits? We don't do work permits because in our state, once you're 16, you're legally able to have a job, and I would never have my kids get a job before they were 16. And diplomas, I already answered that. we start middle school next year. What do I need to know? What you need to know is that it is really no different than what you've been doing. You just decide what curriculums to fill in for what subjects, and you just get going. Middle school really is not too much different than elementary. The next question: how do I balance time for required credits versus interests, talents, things they're passionate about, need to check all the boxes but want to invest in their desires as well? So I think the key here is teaching your kids proper management of priorities. So yes, their interests matter, but you know, as adults, our interests can't always be the first thing that we're pursuing every single day. So I think that allowing your kids to have time to pursue their interests falls after completing the necessary required subjects for school. And that is my personal opinion. I don't think it's wise to raise adults that go out into the world never having had to do something they didn't want to do that day, because a lot of adulthood is spent doing things that we necessarily wouldn't choose to do. And so I don't think it does our kids any justice to, you know, oh, you don't like learning math? I guess you're not learning math. You know, it's like, no, you need to learn some things in life that aren't necessarily going to appeal to your interest or your desires. But I also think that on the flip side of that, a child that has no freedom to pursue or even just have free time to engage in any hobbies or anything that they are interested in is going to have a negative effect as well. So I do think you need to find the sweet spot, but I do think that obviously prioritizing their day and them learning how to prioritize what is a must do over a want do is very important. And I think choosing curriculum that is not taking 5 hours per subject is also wise, so that they do have some free time to their day. But the fact of the matter is, the older you get, the more demanding your life becomes, which is natural. That is the progression into maturity and into young adulthood. And there is adjustment that will need to happen. But an 18-year-old who has never had to sacrifice something they want to do or something like that for something they needed to do is not really prepared, in my opinion, for what the world has for them. So I think just keeping their schoolwork, you know, simple but effective and challenging in the right ways, but not overwhelming them with all this extra fluff is really important, so that they have time to pursue those other things. This is also why we don't do, you know, like co-ops and things that demand weekly time from us, because that would cut into my kids' free time, and they would much rather have free time than go attend a class that they may or may not be super interested in. How do you get them excited and involved in extracurricular subjects? So I don't know if you're talking about sports or electives. Sports, my kids have all expressed interest in the sports that they do, so that's never been something that I had to force them into. As far as electives go, I always present them options for what they would rather do, you know, and in our state, like foreign language is a required elective, so they have to do a foreign language whether they want to or not. And so again, teaching kids that you can't always get what you want is kind of important, in my opinion. Co-ops for harder classes or stay home. Well, we don't have access to a lot of high school level co-ops, so we absolutely would choose to stay home, and it would take a very, very well run, very strong co-op for me to feel like it was worthwhile. If we had those options in our area, I might consider them, but we do not, and so that has made my choice very easy. Teens wanting later nights, leaving mom and dad no alone time. Is that a question, or are we just commiserating? Great accounts like yours to follow for middle school homeschooling journey. Oh, middle school. Okay. I like following Juicebox Homeschool. She posts a lot about resources. I also like following Life on a Ranch for middle school. She posts a lot of resources. I like following, what's her name? Laura K. James. She posts some middle school stuff. Abby, Rooted in Rest, posts some. She's not super active on her Instagram. There's really not a ton. So yeah, those are some of the ones that come to mind right away. The next question, more transcripts. Would I ever consider private school or co-op for the friends factor? Private school, no. Co-op, possibly, if that was an option for us, but it's not. I think there's way too much emphasis placed on friends and not enough emphasis placed on eternity and eternal things. There's endless ways that kids and teenagers can make friends that are outside of the school setting. And ultimately, all of our friends that we had when we were in high school are probably not our friends anymore. And if they are, then we're lucky. So I just don't have this pressure or this idea that my kids in high school need to have like 25 close friends. They have their close friend circle. We are very much friends with all of the family, and that is just the best policy, I think. I think there's way too much pressure put on this area of life, and it's really kind of weird because once you turn 18 and you're not in high school anymore, then suddenly no one is super worried about how many friends you have. It's like you're an adult now, so you talk to the people you work with and then maybe hang out with your friends here or there, so it's just kind of a weird thing. I don't really understand it. Daughter struggling that she doesn't have homeschool friends despite church, co-op, and sports. Well, I would just have a heart-to-heart with your daughter about contentment and what the Lord has provided for her. Nowhere in Scripture does it say that we are going to have thousands and thousands of close friends, and we honestly can't have meaningful relationships with thousands of people or even 20. So I would talk to her about what friendship is, what it's for, where it is on the priority list. I would talk to her about, ways that she can be a better friend, because sometimes we have this idea, and teenagers have this idea, that they need to be the one that is invited to all the things. They need to be the one that is asked to come and talk at like a co-op thing or come sit with them. And they all will like sit in the corner and wait for that to happen rather than being the person that initiates it. So I always tell my kids, quit waiting for an invitation and just go and join in, just jump in there. And I think some of that can be talked about and will be helpful. Do you use the good and the beautiful for teaching writing, and do I add to it in high school? Yes, I use it in high school, and no, I don't add anything into it. And my daughter is a testament of that. She has gone on to both of her English classes for her bachelor's degree and got an A in both the classes. So the good and the beautiful works on its own. How do you do transcripts? I already said that. Science for the 7th grade. So 7th grade science is something that I've struggled with a lot. We've just continued to use the good and the beautiful. However, next year will be my daughter's 7th grade year, and I have taught every unit the good and the beautiful has. And if you know anything about me, I don't like teaching the same curriculum twice. So I'm kind of at a point where I don't really know what I'm going to do for science, but in the past, that's what I've done, the good and the beautiful unit studies for all of my kids. And then in 8th grade, they switch over to BJU. Curriculum, all of it. I love the question. I have playlists for all the curriculums, so you can go watch any of those videos. Would love to see some examples of portfolios. I don't keep portfolios. I don't need to do that, so I don't have anything to show you. I only save sentimental work. Does any curriculum teach them how to take notes, or have I had to teach them those skills? I have had to teach them those skills. And BJU Press has something called guided notes, which helps them because then it kind of lets them know what they need to be writing down. It's kind of like fill in the blank. What have I learned from planning events and formals, do's and don'ts? So I think you're talking about the high school formal that I planned. So the do's are have a communal location, plan it far out in advance, create a dress code, take feedback for music and themes so that you can customize it to their interests and their desires. Make sure there are plenty of adult chaperones that will be there, and make sure that you have help for decorating. Like, don't try to do everything on your own. Now, on the flip side of that, some don'ts would be don't allow too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, because then there's so many people's opinions and it just gets really overwhelming if you're a person like me. So I think just having a handful of people involved, and then just like a bunch of the other moms who are willing to do anything for the evening is what works best. I think there should be a leader, like a person in charge, and not a bunch of back and forth. And charging for the event, I think, is worthwhile. And then the people that express interest are obviously going to follow through and come. So those are some of the do's and don'ts that I have. Let's see. How do I track high school stuff? I already talked about that. If not doing any sports or co-ops, is just being a part of church and youth group enough? Ask yourself, what is enough? Who sets the standard for enough? And if your child is happy, thriving, feeling loved and secure, and knows the Lord, then I say all of that is enough. Do my children average about 7 courses per semester at these ages? So in public school, there's generally 6 classes that your high schooler will take. It will be a history class, a math class, a science class, an English class, and two electives. And that is the way that it is structured out here for high school. And I think nationally, that's kind of the setup for it. So those are the 6 classes that middle schoolers and high schoolers take. So that's 6. So I guess if you count like our Bible time, that would be 7. But yes, that is what my kids do. Let's see. Do I think a co-op would have been too much on their plates? So yes, this year with my daughter being in college, like a co-op would have absolutely been too much. But I think a co-op at the high school and middle school level should fulfill something else, not be an addition. So for example, if I'm teaching science to my middle school and high schoolers and I join a co-op, then I'm not doing science at home by ourselves anymore. The co-op is doing science. So I think for time's sake and just purpose behind it, the co-op should replace something that you would already be teaching, not be like an additional thing added on to everybody's day. And then the last one is, what are my thoughts on micro schools for homeschoolers? So I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I really just am not a fan of relinquishing the task of teaching and discipling our children that God has given us. Now, I know unique circumstances and different life seasons present different things where you might need to utilize something that is different from traditional homeschooling, but I'm just not a fan at always looking at alternative things to avoid the call that has been given to us in Deuteronomy 6:1-9 about teaching our children all day. It's very clear. So I think micro schools can be cool because that would be, like a very small group of children. There would probably be a lot of parental involvement. Those things can be great. But at the end of the day, if you're not the primary teacher for your children, are you really doing what God has asked us to do? And so for me, it always comes back to that. So I don't see any other option providing the same amount of time and discipleship of my children as homeschooling them myself has provided. Now, if there were some type of financial situation or something that was forcing me to make a change in that area, I would consider that like a last resort option type thing, because I really would try to exhaust every other option before then. So that is my thought on that. So I hope you guys gained some insight and some thoughts here on homeschooling high school and middle school. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to leave them down below. I will answer you guys. I will come back to this video and reply. So feel free to leave more, especially if something I said in this video prompted a follow-up question or clarification that you're wondering about. Don't forget to check out the link to download Band. I know so many of you guys were asking about co-ops and micro schools and all those things. So Band is a free app that is not social media, that has so many wonderful features for communicating for the homeschooling community and organizing things like formals and things like you were just asking about. So the link to download it is down below for you guys. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I have a whole playlist on homeschooling high school, as well as all of my homeschool curriculums. So if you're wondering about anything related to those things, chances are if you spend a little time on my channel searching, you will find it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys again really soon. Bye.